Hey friends, we're at day 7 of 10 Days Till a Decade, the vlog, the tales. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking with me on this project. And we're well into recovery now. In the last video, I shared some of the first jobs I had in recovery. And I think a big part of it, too, was in the beginning to hang out with my sober crew of people. I was on a DUI. So, in order to hang out in the support group that I chose, I would wake up every day at 11 and I would walk. It was about an hour to get to the meeting place. And I walked everywhere. I walked to the grocery store. I knew if I could get to where people were, I could usually get a ride home because people were really kind at that point. But for my first 6 months to a year in sobriety, I walked everywhere, rain, sleet, or shine, until the first guy who helped me out in recovery work a program, a fellow by the name of Andy, gave me a Trek bicycle. And I was still doing stand-up comedy at this point. So when I got the bicycle, it was awesome because I could ride from my house in north side of town. I could ride down to the comedy club. And that was the thing in early recovery that like the people around me helped me out with, because I was afraid because of being in rehab. They said you couldn't do comedy anymore because it was around drugs and alcohol. And that's all I had left, to be honest. It was the one thing that I had that I didn't lose. The comedy club owner had visited me in rehab, and people ask sometimes, like, are you ever nervous to get on stage? The only time I was ever nervous to get on stage is I was fresh out of rehab, and it was maybe 40 or 50 days sober, and I went down to the comedy club to thank Adam and his wife, Sarah, for visiting me while I was in rehab. And I walked down there to thank them, and they were so happy that I was doing okay. And Adam was like, do you want to go do a set? And I'm like, yeah, of course. And then it struck me that I had never done comedy sober, because remember now I started as a way to quit drinking, but I was always high as a kite. And then after I fell off the wagon, I was drinking and smoking and getting on stage. So I didn't know if I was going to be funny anymore. And so I remember being nervous sitting outside of the side of the stage. And I got up there and I started telling my little jokes at the time, which were probably terrible, but and I got laughter. And that feeling washed over me. It was still the best feeling in the world. So I never looked back. And I rode my bicycle to the comedy club to do guest spots. And, my sober crew told me, you go there, you do your time, you thank everybody, and you get out of there. And then once I had a more and more time under my belt, it was easier to be around, comedy. But it's still like, it doesn't bother me even to this day to be around people drinking or doing drugs. It's just, it gets to a certain point where I just leave, It's not because I'm afraid of drinking or anything like that. It's just like, I have to skip town sometimes. It gets uncomfortable. It just gets uncomfortable to watch, especially when I see people that drink like I used to drink. Like your casual drinker or even your heavy drinker doesn't really bother me, but like people that invade spaces and close talkers, even after shows, it can still kind of rub me the wrong way. But that was what my first few years of recovery looked like. I had a DUI, and could I have gotten my license back faster? Sure, but I rode that bicycle everywhere. My first big boy job was I worked for a soybean chemical company in Bloomington. It was my first hourly job with health insurance, and it was given to me by a man with long-term sobriety, and it was really great to have some kind of job that also understood that I was a comedian. So I rode that bicycle down to where the bus stop was. And this was even in the rain or the snow. I would pack an extra bag of clothes, and I would put my snow pants on and my snow jacket, and I would ride my bicycle to the bus stop. And then I could put the bike on the front of the bus, and then it would take me all the way to the end of town. And get to where I needed to go. And I remember just feeling so grateful to be able to ride a bike places. I would eventually get my license back and my first comedy car at about 3 or 4 years sober. It took me that long because I could have got a breather machine, but I needed to solidify that riding my bicycle and paying off that DUI was most important, and that sales job that I had in recovery really allowed me to pursue stand-up comedy on such a different level, because they paid me to fly around the country, and I had a company credit card, and someone trusted me, and it was like it's because I committed to working a sober life with the guidance of other sober people. It took a lot of people to lean on, and I got that big kid job, and I was able to travel to Vegas and Texas for work. But then, because I wasn't drinking or doing drugs anymore, I could do comedy at night. So I would work 8 a.m. to 5, get off work, go hang out with sober people, and depending on what city I was in, and then I would do showcase spots. And I met a lot of great friends in different comedy scenes that are still friends to this day. When I moved out to Los Angeles, I had a slew of friends because I was able to do this. And I truly believe that if it wasn't for getting sober, years 3 and 4, and really riding that bicycle everywhere, until I saved up enough money to get that comedy car, it really built a character in me, and it rejuvenated the drive that I had lost drinking. It's a very humbling experience to have to ride your bicycle to work in the rain and then have a backpack full of dry clothes so that you could get through the day not sitting, soaking wet, and then hop back on that bike and do it all over again. You pray that it stops raining before you get off of work. So that's day 7, everybody. We got a few more left. We got 8, 9, 10. We got 3 more left, everybody. So thanks for tuning in.